It's a good Friday for everybody but Intel, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess Friday for most companies, but uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Intel. The interesting thing about Intel is they've been investing a lot. We'll say
Mm-hmm.
tens of billions, many tens of billions,
Yep.
in these chip fab factories or whatever
Mm-hmm.
facilities, and I think I'm thinking to myself, like at some point, this is going to wear on them. But that's not what happened. What happened was the basis for their entire business has started imploding a little bit after the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, which, by the way, predictable, right?
Yeah.
It was only a matter of timing. So yeah, they posted a loss.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think they said PC sales had gone down 10%, which honestly, in the scope of things, is not as bad as I might have feared.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I think the relevant phrase is 10% so far.
right, that's true. That's true.
Back to
So we'll see how it
school.
goes.
Maybe we'll see. I don't. We'll see. It was a rough quarter for Intel. Has AMD reported earnings yet?
Not that I've seen.
Because they would obviously
I
be in
was
that
just
same.
going through They got to be any day now. This time of every month, quarter is a nightmare. you know,
All right, Bing.
for all the stuff you have to cover. Um,
What, what is,
and then you have I don't know. I have the entertaining requirement of translating Korean won to USD for Samsung's earnings, or euro to dollar for Spotify's earnings, and
August 2nd.
math. August 2nd. Oh, that's
So
actually
that's Monday?
next week. Yeah.
Tuesday, I think. I think it's Tuesday.
Okay.
Yep, Tuesday. That's a Tuesday. So we'll
Right.
see. We will see.
I proactively wrote that Intel was killing its Optane memory business, and someone pointed out they still sell one or two versions of it, but now they are literally killing it. So
Yeah.
if you were into Optane for some reason, which was sort of like an SSD cache, basically. I mean, remember when SSDs first came out, they were so expensive, you would get like a hard drive because
Yep.
it
Yeah.
was had more volume. But you could get like a little SSD attached to it that was basically like a cache.
What did Apple call
And
those stupid things? It wasn't hybrid, was it? Or was it hybrid?
they did have a name for it because they have a name for everything. I don't remember, but it was short-lived, right? Eventually, SSDs caught up. They became bigger volume-wise and less expensive. But anyway, Optane was sort of that for SSDs. It was kind of weird. Like, I guess a faster form of solid state, almost a RAM-like thing, I guess. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's gone. Who cares?
But then
all
Amazon
good.
on the other side, doing well. I mean,
Well, yeah, mostly. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, so actually, Amazon would have posted an operating profit, I think is what we call it, had it not been for a nearly $4 billion write-off, I
Yep.
think, of an investment in an electric car company that will, you know, could still pan out, I suppose.
yeah, because Rivian and those guys aren't dead. But
And let's face it, if anyone should move to all electric, it would be Amazon and their fleet of trucks.
they're trying. I mean, that was their investment. It's not. I mean, it's a pretty rational idea what they're doing.
No, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like this could still work.
Yeah.
And is inevitable, maybe.
Yep. And then other fun
I
things.
literally pushed away from my desk last night. It was about 5:00, and I was like, "Well, I'm done for the day." And then I literally said it out loud. We have friends here, so I just looked at my browser, and I'm like, "Oh, there's a curious number of new news stories here. What's going on?" Intel, Amazon, Apple. I was like, Sony. Sony was today, actually. Roku was one. Roku's a minor play, but like stories I might want to write. And I was like, not only am I not done for the day, but each of these requires like thought and work and math.
Like, yeah.
And, yeah.
Like, you're really going to parse apart the earnings there.
Yep.
And of course, there's Apple. I mean, Apple did an Apple thing where they had another good quarter despite.
You know what though? So you're right, but I find it interesting that only two of their businesses have better revenues than the year ago quarter.
Yep.
The Mac, the iPad, wearables, I guess that's everything, all had lower revenues, right? The iPhone grew and services grew. Although, another interesting statistic there, that for the first time they had fewer paying subscribers. which means that the fewer subscribers are paying more per person because the revenues actually went up in services. And services is, I'm doing this off the top of my head, but it's Apple's second biggest business. You may know, is it half the size of iPhone? Is that possible? Or is it 1/3? It's something
somewhere
like
around there. I was looking up another fun fact while you were going through that. Let me pull this up here.
I'm going to look up the services thing.
So
yeah, Apple. Sorry to interrupt. Services is, where is it?
To kind of put something into perspective.
Yes, I'm sorry. It is half. It's half the size by revenue.
Apple's quarterly revenue was $83 billion, which is
I know what you're going to do.
$83 billion. Microsoft's annual revenue is $198 billion.
Right. When do those intersect?
Yeah, like it's
Some holiday quarter.
Yeah.
Well, the one I always use is you compare the iPhone by itself to all of Microsoft, right?
Oh,
so what was Microsoft's quarterly revenues? Do you remember?
Hold on, I've got the actual data pulled up right here. It's $51.9 billion.
Okay, so the iPhone was not as big as all of Microsoft this quarter. It has been. iPhone was 40.6,
which is just a stupid number. I mean, that's a single product line.
Yeah. It's hard to know the true worth of things because the iPhone is part of an ecosystem that impacts all kinds of other things, including those services and peripherals, like headphones and whatever. That was true of Microsoft too with Windows, right? Because there's a whole, Office. The primary driver of Office is people who have Windows. There's a whole virtual circle kind of a thing. But I think it's whatever the numbers are, however big things are compared to each other. I think it's pretty clear that the iPhone is for Apple what Windows was in its heyday for Microsoft. It's the guiding light that pulls in everything else and makes the whole thing possible. Just an incredible business.
Yep, and if that wasn't enough, Microsoft pushed like 17 builds of Windows Insider yesterday. But the interesting one includes the new, Open Dialog. So when you right mouse click and open, or if you have a file.
Looks exactly like it should look.
Yep. Right? And then they're also, I honestly thought this was already there in some capacity. Maybe it's on Windows 10. Dynamic widgets in Windows 11. So breaking news, they can kind of like rotate through things and.
Oh, great.
Be a distraction on your taskbar.
I've actually been writing about widgets for the book.
I honestly thought you were going to say since 2003, but
nice. That's also true. Actually, before then, if you want to go back to Active Desktop. But anyway, So honestly, widgets is something I've complained about in the past because of the low quality of it. But honestly, I have to say that's been cleaned up pretty nicely. If you want a news feed for some reason in the corner of your desktop, it's not horrible. It does have all of the problems we've discussed. It forces you to use the Microsoft web browser, the Microsoft search service, the Microsoft backend news services, or whatever online services, and of course, thus Microsoft's advertising will be exposed to you as well. But honestly, as a thing, it's gotten a lot better. I'm not personally into that kind of thing, but it's not as bad as it was.
Yeah,
is my point, I guess, if I have one.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me by any means. I mean, I think.
Well, it used to really bother me. It still bothers me that they're forcing the Microsoft stuff on you. But the central complaint is, that is a central complaint. But the other issue used to be that you'd open it up and it's all bikini stories, or this celebrity wore this to this event. You won't believe what she looks like now. It's like, guys, come on, like. But anyway, I spend a lot of time investigating news feeds. I read a lot, so I usually do this on mobile. Microsoft stuff is available on mobile via the web if you want to go to whatever they call it, Microsoft Start or whatever. But they have, it's improved. I think it's just important to acknowledge this. I mean, you can go up to the site and you can do that through widgets to kind of fine tune what you see. And if you've ever used like a music service like Spotify or Spotify, when you first sign in, you select a few artists you like, and we'll start giving you stuff. They do that for sources, of content and news. And, if you're whatever way you lean, you can kind of say yes to this and no to that. And, maybe like a lot of science stuff, you like a lot of sports stuff, whatever it is.
Bengals.
You can kind of actual sports.
And whoa! I feel like we've had our one season, right? We've legitimized ourselves a bit.
Let's not take one season and correlate that out to like an era or anything, but or a tradition of greatness. Anyway, yes, if you happen to live in Ohio and for some reason those people exist, I think.
You can hurt me on a Friday threat.